How to disagree at work. If you deal with people, one thing you can count on is that you are going to have disagreements and be involved in conflict situations. Hi everybody, my name is Janean Nichols. As a manager of a busy IT healthcare department, I deal with conflict and disagreements on a regular basis. If you have ever had a job, you have been in a disagreement at work. It is that common. How you deal with that conflict or disagreement is going to determine your success. Being able to work through conflict gives you an advantage in the workplace. Disagreements at work are inevitable, and learning how to disagree and remain productive is a crucial skill. By using a few strategies that I'm going to discuss, you will be able to handle conflict in a better way. Before we can discuss how to handle a disagreement, let's first talk about what a disagreement really is. In its simplest form, a disagreement is just a difference of opinion. According to Angelina Farrell's article in YFS magazine, there are 5 basic types of disagreements. The first is a leadership conflict. Each leader has their own way of leading a group, and that style that they have can create some conflict with people. Interdependency-based conflict is the second type. This is when you have to work with somebody or you have to cooperate with somebody in order to meet your goal or your task. There can be conflict in that. There are work style differences as a type of conflict. Some people prefer to work by themselves. Some people prefer to work in a group. Those are style differences. They can create conflict. There's culturally based conflict. By culture in this, I mean a difference in values, beliefs, and traditions. They can create some conflict. And then there's personality-based conflicts. We're all individuals and we all come at things differently, and that inevitably is going to lead to some conflict. According to Rund and Flanagan's book in Becoming a Conflict Competent Leader, there are 5 levels of disagreement as well. You start with a basic difference. Then you move in intensity down the scale to being more emotional. So differences, there's not a lot of emotion in a basic difference. A misunderstanding, you're getting a little bit more emotionally involved. In a disagreement, you're kind of moderately involved from an emotional level. Then you get to discord, now you're emotionally involved. And in polarization, you're not even wanting to sit at the same table with this person. So these different levels of disagreement happen as well as different reasons for a disagreement. Now that we understand a little bit more about disagreement and conflict, next we want to talk about what happens when that conflict goes unresolved in the workplace. According to an article by Brian DeHaaf in Inc. magazine, the annual cost of conflict in the workplace is estimated to be about $359 billion a year. That breaks down to 2.8 hours per employee per week. That is a significant cost to business and to personal. What happens when this conflict is going on is the team dynamic starts to break down. People stop wanting to work together, and what makes the team work well stops working. It can even go so far as people wanting to now leave the team and no longer work with them. This is a huge impact. So far, I have explained what conflict is and what happens when conflict is not resolved in the workplace. Next, I'll explain some tools that you can use to resolve conflict before it becomes a problem for you and your team. According to Rund and Flanagan's book, Becoming a Conflict Competent Leader, there are several things that you can use to resolve conflict. One of them is you have to manage your emotions. When you become emotional or angry, your body goes into a fight or flight mode. When this happens, your brain is no longer able to process through what it needs to in order to resolve that conflict. That's a big deal. You've got to manage your emotions. You need to be constructive. The words you use, your body language, the tone that you use, all help or hinder resolution of conflict. You need to consider the other person's perspective. Put yourself in their shoes. Where are they coming from? It makes a difference. listen to understand. Most of us listen to hear. We don't listen to understand, but when we listen to understand our conflict partner, it puts us in a different place and it allows us to see things from their perspective. Finally, we need to avoid the idea of winning or losing a conflict. Instead, you need to look at how can we both come up with something different that we'll both be happy with. According to Patterson, Greene, McMillan, and Switzer's book of Crucial Conversations, what happens with a crucial conversation, that's when emotions and stakes are both very high. The best thing about this book, one of my favorite books that I've read, is it says when we're in a crucial conversation situation, we start to tell ourselves a story, and this happens in a split second. We approach something, we think we understand everything that's going on, and we tell ourselves a story about it. Usually we're way off base. So when we notice that we're in this type of a conflict, first we need to start with heart. What this means is, what is the most underlying thing that you can't let go of? For me, being in healthcare, it is always about the patient. What's happening with any situation that's going to better the patient's care. That's what's in heart for me. I have to work on me first, second. What this means is I'm only able to control my reaction to a situation, and I have to make sure I'm doing exactly that. I have to control my reaction and make sure I'm using it for the better of the situation. Focus on what you really want. Again, this comes down to that underlying what's at your heart. What is it that you're really trying to accomplish from this situation, and let everything else go. And then you have to refuse the fool's choice. The fool's choice is when you think it's an either or. Either I can do this or I can do that. That's the fool's choice. What you really need to look for is, how can I do this and this? And when your conflict partner and you come into an agreement on how to get to that and, that's when you really get to the heart and you're moving through a conversation. According to the article by Shane Snow in Harvard Business Review, the article is titled 4 Rules to Help Your Team Disagree Productively. There's 4 things you can do to disagree, but still keep things moving forward. First, remember you're all on the same team. This is not an us versus them. We're all working together. The next 2 for me kind of go hand in hand. Stick to the facts and don't get personal. If you're only dealing with the facts of a situation and you leave the personal jabs out of it, it becomes much easier to work through the conflict and get to a resolution that you're both happy with. And the 4th one is to be intellectually humble. What this means is the person you're in conflict with might actually know more than you do, and that's an okay thing because it's going to help you both get to a better resolution. In conclusion, I have shared with you some ways to handle a conflict and maintain productive relationships. We have all been a part of a conflict situation. We all have disagreements, especially at work or if we have families. We all know that disagreements and conflict will continue to happen, but hopefully you now have a different perspective and are better able to deal with it constructively. I have explained what conflict is, what happens when it goes unresolved in the workplace, and giving you some strategies that will help you when it does come up. Now that you have some different tactics on how to use, how will you best approach your next conflict? I thank you very much for your time and attention today, and I hope you have a great day.